Let's get it. It's a fine day here in the QC, Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm so glad to see it. I hope everyone is well, as we always say, and that you too are able to get out and enjoy this beautiful day the Most High has given us. And be glad and rejoice in it, as the text says. It's quite a warm day today, and I'm glad to see the warmth finally get here. So I'm ready for the heat, the sweating heat. Okay, I did have a fine idea I wanted to share today. And it's coming out of Numbers 13. And we all know that that's the account of the spies that were sent into the promised land to go and do reconnaissance on the promised land, like I said. But those fellas that were sent out didn't come back with a favorable report, like Moses told them basically that they should do. See, Moses had already gotten word from the Most High that they were going into the land and take it. And the spies knew that. Everybody knew it. So these spies should have had the faith enough in the Most High's word, seeing that he had just brought them out of Egypt by a mighty hand, as the text says, seeing that he had already sent plagues to force the hard-hearted Pharaoh to let his people go. And my wife mentioned something to me this morning in my study. She was like, you remember that the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart? And I said that he did, because he was going to totally destroy the Egyptians for what they did to his people. It wasn't going to be enough for them to come out of the land with resources and just the Pharaoh say, go on, get away from here. We're done with you. No, they put the Most High's people through too much hell and high water and fire to come off that easy. But my thought was, follow the leader, not hide and seek. Or should I say, follow the leader and not hide and go seek. And when I thought of this thought today, I went in a totally different direction until I saw my family's text. And my brother that's going through some challenges now, he encouraged us all by reminding us of this story of the children of Israel going into the land, the spies actually going into the land, supposedly to bring back a good report of how beautiful the land is, how grand it was, and just like the Most High told them. See, the Most High was wanting them men to go out in faith on his word and come back in faith on his word and give a good report by faith on his word. All of them should have went out and came back like Joshua and Caleb did. We're well able to take the land. Let's go get it now. Because the Most High is with us. The same Most High that pulled us out of Egypt, fed us in the wilderness with heavenly bread, with manna from heaven, and with water from a rock. There's nothing impossible with the Most High. He can do it. But what the story ended up telling us is that These men, instead of playing follow the leader, they chose to play hide and go seek back in the wilderness for a whole nother generation until they died off, until the Most High could raise up him a generation that would follow him, that would follow the leader. And I shouldn't say play, but who would follow the orders of the leader, who's getting the word straight from the Most High. And I'm going to let that be that for now. I would just say we need to pay closer attention to the leaders the Most High put in our lives, and see first if they are getting a word from the Most High and a word of uniting his people and bringing them into the promised land, and not one of separating the Most High's people, causing divisions amongst his people with petty arguments. See, that's what happened to those fellas. They was worried about their foe instead of the leader. But that's my encouraging word today. Follow the leader that you know the Most High put in your life. And as the text says, that he will put his laws in our minds and in our hearts. Basically the Ruach HaKodesh. And he's our leader that we should follow. And even if the Most High does give us a physical leader, a man or a woman, the Ruach HaKodesh has to sign off on him daily. But let's get it. And I wanted to come back with that thought about being bewaring of our leaders, because a lot of them are like those spies. They're coming with an evil report and not the one of the leader, the Most High. See, a lot of times, the people we call ourselves following these days really aren't following the Most High. So who are they following, Robert? You might ask. And that's a good question. They're drawn away by their own lust, as the text says. Okay, let's get it. Now, with that thought of being very careful of who we're following, we got to be very careful to follow the man or woman that the Most High has put in our life that's rightly dividing the word of truth.
Already been married, so that shit don't mean nothing to you either. Oh, I don't want to be in that.
I'm fine, bro. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I was just thinking about that young fella that just passed by, and he stopped there and was gonna wait until I finished my squats before he walked by, saying that he didn't want to get in the recording. And I was like, no problem, we're at a park, you're good. But it goes to show, this is like the third person that paused to give recognition to me during my squats. However, there's been like 6 or 7 people that walked by, knowing that I was recording. And as I started to ponder that just now when I was doing my squats, I began to think about the fruit I saw in their lives that they were bearing or not bearing. And come to realize, the ones that was in more less shape, looked like they was in better shape, are the ones that recognized me recording and didn't want to hamper my progress by getting in the frame. And I just say that because I recognize that, and it's like those folks that know what kind of effort you're putting in because they've already started putting in that effort, or they're already put in that effort. They give you more respect than those that's just out here on a whim, or just out here to walk the dog, or just out here because somebody begged them to come out here. But that's neither here nor there. I just thought I'd share that because I saw it. Let's get these last sets. And I'm thinking that just like what I said about the folks not trying to cross the path for my recording, you can see the fruit in their lives. Not only by their physique, but by their attitude of not wanting to hold somebody else up from doing the same. I think this has to be the same standards that we judge our leaders by. The fruit we see in their lives. Not only what they're saying out their mouths, but what they're walking out. Because I'm sure when Moshe or Moses chose those spies, if I'm not mistaken, they were the leaders from the different tribes. Now I may be mistaken, but he did the right thing by choosing the leaders to represent the people, but at the same time they did the wrong thing. And I think this is going to be my final thought or idea on this thought, and it is, we can tell by the shape of this world what kind of leaders we have leading us. And we also can tell by the shape of this world what kind of followers we are. Because Caleb and Joshua, they said, we're well able to take the land. Let's go get it. And see, I feel the same about our people today. And notice I said our people. Most of us are still indoctrinated by the old European Christian philosophy or teachings. And as the text says, we're destroyed by it because of lack of knowledge. And if I'm not mistaken, that same text says that because you reject knowledge, then I will reject you. Hey, I will reject you and your children. Which after that, it gets deep to me. I'm like, okay, I understand you rejecting me, and that's just for a season, because I'm gonna get it before long. But when you're saying you're gonna reject me and my children, you're basically saying you're looking over a few generations, just like he did in Joshua's and Caleb's generation. He had to skip them. So now he's telling us he's going to skip 2 generations, or 3 or 4. Basically where we find ourselves at now, in this final captivity. But I'm going to get on this bike, make my 5 most high willing, and get on out of here for the week, finishing strong. Family, I had to come back on and say that I did all that riding thinking I was recording, but won't record nothing. And I know all things work together for our good, but I really wanted that recording. Because what happened is I ran across another turtle on this ride today, on the total opposite side of the park, and it was much smaller, and it too was one way towards the lake. And I'm praying and ask the Most High to give me understanding of that, because I know there ain't no coincidence. But we finished strong this week. We got our 5 miles in, riding and walking in. Which before we're done, we'll have our 7 for the day. But yeah, follow the leader or hide and go seek. And I don't even think I mentioned that these were games we played when we were children. But as Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child and did childish things. But when I grew up, I put away those childish things. And like I say, I may misquote a script every now and again, but you know the one I'm getting at. And our main focus about today is focus. A one single-minded focus on the Most High and His Word. And as I was saying on my ride, the personal word He told us last. Because folks always say it, even in the Christian church, when you miss the mark, always go back to what the Most High told you to do last. And go and carry out those orders before you go further. So that's the thought I'm leaning towards today. Not only follow the correct leaders and not the wrong set of spies that are sent out into the land to overtake it or to map it out so we can get a game plan together. But we don't want to follow the ones that come back with a negative report altogether saying we can't do it. We look like grasshoppers in their eyes. How they know what they look like? How do they know what they look like to other folks? It's because they had that mental picture of themselves in the eyes of their foe. But the Most High said, we're going to take the land. I'm going to give you the land of your enemies, or the people that's in the land, we're going to clear them out. So we have to have that same mentality today and for the rest of our lives. Single-minded focus. Only what he says and what he tells us to do. Stay up, keep pushing forward in the right direction. Shalom.